Like, how are they so great at singing and dancing and all of those other elements, and also their entertainment skills off the charts? Like,
it's almost not fair.
Yeah.
Howdy, Meowers. Welcome back to the BlushCat podcast. My name is Mimi, and it is time for the PLAVE episode.
I see what you did there, Mimi. That's nice. That's nice.
Thank you.
Okay, well, yes, it's time for the PLAVE episode. I feel like every single time we start one of these, I'm like, yes. And it's like, what am I supposed to say? Like, no, actually, that's not what we're doing today. It's time for the long awaited PLAVE episode. I don't know how long you guys have been waiting for it, but we've been like waiting to do it pretty much since we found out about PLAVE. It was like, we're going to have to do a whole episode on PLAVE. Mm-hmm. And now here it is. Well, actually, one of possibly more. We don't really know, but it's at least one PLAVE episode served up fresh for you.
Yes. And so basically it's just going to be a free talk rant about PLAVE. We're just going to, we'll explain our origin story with PLAVE. That's probably what we'll start with, but that's going to come with some other things. Like, we're going to explain PLAVE a little, but nothing's going to be too technical here. Don't come to this episode hoping for some big, huge, explanation of lore and PLAVE history. Like, not PLAVE origin stories, but our origin stories as PLAVE fans. And if we get around to it in this episode, we'll do recommendation type things, talk about their songs, choreography, stuff like that. But that might go into part 2, but who knows? It's probably all going to be jumbled together because it's really hard to be rational and follow a logical pattern sometimes when we're talking about PLAVE. But we're going to try our best to make things coherent for this episode. So let's begin. But first of all, stan PLAVE.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our first exposure to PLAVE. I think I know for a fact that I have heard about PLAVE for a long time. I knew PLAVE existed, sure. I didn't really know what PLAVE was, though, until very, recently meaning the end of last year, beginning of this year. So, us as PLAVE fans, we're very new PLE.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh for us.
Yeah, but we're in it this much. We're in it a lot.
You have to be.
So, I would say in general, I knew about the concept of PLAVE and how they were actually being really, really successful. But I didn't even know that they were real people at this point. I just knew of their existence. I'd say really Way for Love is what started to make PLAVE more recognizable as a K-pop group, because it was kind of Rise, ZB1, To Us, PLAVE. They're all having fresh stuff happening. They're kind of all competing at the top of the charts right now. That was what was going on. So I think I had probably heard Way for Love. I don't know if I knew it was PLAVE or if I just knew it was a song, but that's the PLAVE song that I probably heard initially.
Okay. I don't remember, I don't know what I heard first in terms of PLAVE music or what I saw first, because in a lot of instances, it's I see something that has many groups involved with it, and so I end up seeing these groups, but I don't know at the time really what I was taking in. And then it's later on, it's oh wow, I must have seen them on that then, some sort of award show or end of year festival or something. I know I saw PLAVE at, and so I watched it, but at that time they were not relevant to me in the sense that it was just another performance.
Right.
Which I know you're how could it be just another performance when they're completely different looking than any other performance would have been? But trust me, I was not taking it in a way where I was like putting it in my memory at that time. So I don't know. Like, I feel like if I want to talk about my first exposure, I have to go a little bit deeper in, like, towards when it was like I remember when I first started like knowing them. You know, I don't remember what the first exposure was, but I do remember you talking about PLAVE being a group that like everyone really loved right now. Like, I remember that concept, and I don't think I knew, like, visually, I don't think I knew what they looked like yet, and I didn't know their songs. But like, I guess maybe you could say first exposure was, I remember it being like, PLAVE is that group that's like everybody's going crazy over.
Right.
In Korea.
Yeah, in Korea they're like really big. I remember seeing it was for one of their concerts. I don't know, like, I know they haven't had that many, but it was like, you know, their big event that people were lining up for in Korea, and I remember seeing the pictures of the lines, and I was like, okay, wow, yeah, they really are a big deal, because there were so many people lined up to go see them. Something that I know that we both saw, though, that was probably the earliest thing on in our PLAVE journey, if you will, that we collectively watched was the Gayo Daejaejeon when they performed Pump Up the Volume and then Watch Me Ooh. It, like, I don't think we were watching that whole thing as you know, like, the show. Like, right. I don't think we were forced
selectively
to, so I do think we were selective with it, and I was like, I'm going to click on PLAVE and we're gonna watch the PLAVE performance. And so that was kind of, I think, our first moment of being like, oh, okay, so this is PLAVE. This is how they perform.
Yes. Okay. So now that you brought up the specific songs that they were doing, I'm remembering how we thought it was like a real switch up.
Yeah.
They went from one song to the other, because like we had no exposure to them really. So we didn't know what type of music it was going to be. And when they did like two completely different vibes, it was like, wow, okay. But I remember thinking like, oh, okay, sure. Like, it's a vibe. Like, it's interesting to see. I think maybe they did like a teleportation sort of thing or something, was involved somewhere. It was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And like, no offense, but it was definitely a positive experience overall compared to the other things that we had been watching that evening.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I'd say that's the first exposure, like all of that stuff. But then I also want to break it down into like first interest.
Yeah.
But should we first explain PLAVE?
Sure, yeah, because like I know I brought up like there was a teleportation moment. And if you're really just like, I don't know PLAVE and I was waiting for you to tell me who PLAVE is, like, yeah, you're confused.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead, because you're easier. You explain that kind of stuff in a way that's easier to understand.
Okay. PLAVE is a virtual idol group. You've maybe heard of VTubers, virtual YouTubers, or virtual streamers. They're virtual idols. So it's falling exactly into the same, you know, category of real people really doing the things, but just having an avatar being shown on screen rather than the camera showing the actual person. So they are not AI generated. They are not CGI computer generated. They are real people.
They're not animation, like drawn only with voice actors.
True, yes. They are literally like at a place, like at their company or a studio or whatever, with mocap suits on, facial recognition stuff being used, walking around, dancing, talking, doing everything that you see them doing except for maybe perhaps a random like fly through the sky scene or something. Obviously they're not really doing that much. Like it's gonna have like special effects to some degree, but they are like, for the most part, everything that you're seeing the avatar doing is like quote unquote real,
Yes.
So it's just a virtual idol, but real people. Please, everyone that wants to dismiss everybody that wants to dismiss PLAVE as like, oh, I don't care how good a computer can make somebody dance. It's like, there's no computer making them dance. They're dancing. So yeah, like they're real, and they're real dances, and they're real voices, and they're real producers, and they're real choreographers, and they're real live streamers, and they're real everything.
Yes.
And I'll add on as a little fun point of like lore or something, I guess, to the smallest degree, that early on when we were like learning about PLAVE, and I was like, how are they doing all this? Like with the motion capture stuff, like it seems so crazy. I didn't know that you could do this stuff this easily with motion capture. I saw an article, but like it's been a while since I've read it, so please forgive me. But I saw an article that was talking about how PLAVE's company, like I feel like it was saying that they pioneered and or like created a lot of motion capture stuff, or like stuff to do with like their concerts or whatever. They made it so that PLAVE could do what PLAVE is doing. And they use the Unreal Engine, which is a engine that people make video games with.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So much of the technology side of PLAVE is really cool.
Yeah.
But we'll probably get into that a little bit more. But going back to first interest.
Yes.
The Way for Love dance practice is one of the things that I remember going to after we saw that Guile performance. And I was like, okay, well, I know this song, but let me see their dance for it. And we were watching it, and it was like, okay, like we still didn't really know yet what PLAVE was. We didn't know that they were real people. Like, well, like we assumed that at this point,
yes,
but we still weren't sure how it was all working.
Yeah, like how much of what we were seeing was what they were doing.
Yes. And so I was like, you know what? Like I remember thinking, I would love this if it was an anime. So why wouldn't I like PLAVE? Like why would I not like this? And the thing that was holding me back was the thought of, I don't really know how much of this is, real, I guess you could say. Like I didn't like the idea of it being like I was watching an anime when I'm coming to K-pop for the reasons that I'm going to K-pop. Like if it was an anime, it would be good as an anime. But if it's K-pop, I want it to have some of the other aspects,
Yes, exactly. Like, if you like it, you like it, and that's fine. But it feels weird to put them in the same category as K-pop, like live, performances, like people really dancing and all these sorts of things, if it was something that was like created and produced by animation or something else. It doesn't feel like you're putting them in the right category. So it was like, yeah, this is a fun thing to watch and I like it, but if it's not people really dancing, then why would I be considering this alongside the other people who are really dancing?
Right. So I remember thinking that when watching the Way for Love dance practice, but both of us were so intrigued by everything that was happening, and it was like, well, if these people aren't really dancing right now, how is this happening? How is this looking this certain way? Like stuff like that. We had too many questions, and so I would like to now take the time to share the lyric from PLAVE Virtual Idol, which we did use as as a superlative in one of the Meower monthlies. You'll be curious and can't resist. That's, you know, a translated line, but that's really what happened. Like, we just had too many questions. We were too curious about how the whole thing worked, about what PLAVE was all about, that we just ended up watching more PLAVE to try to understand.
Yeah, because they made it so intriguing, because it was like, you could be like, I don't get how this is working, or I don't know what's going on. I'd like to know more information. But if it wasn't interesting in terms of like what they were doing, then it maybe would just have been like, oh, I don't get it, and you move on.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, but I want to get it, because like it seems interesting. Like what they were doing was entertaining. What they were doing was like, what? Like what is this? Like, how are they doing that? What's going on? In an intriguing way that was like, we couldn't let it go. We had to know. We just had to. Like, it's so true.
Yeah. So obviously that's when all of PLAVE's content that we are so thankful that they have, that's when all that comes into the picture. And so the first Let's Go episodes that we watched, I was like intrigued by the thumbnail. It was from the episode like 14, 15, 16 series of episodes with the healing time at, you know, like Noah's grandma's house.
Just that in itself, when it starts and he's like, we're at my grandma's house. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? But they can be anywhere they want, you know? Like, it's so...
Like, so those episodes are our first interest and exposure to the Let's Go and to actual PLAVE content. However, I don't know if we actually saw the Gaia waiting room behind before.
I think
that.
We did.
I think
because I didn't know anyone's
did.
names.
Yeah, but so that was somewhere in the middle of things.
Yeah.
Like, because like once I get curious, you know, like I'm a clicker sometimes. Like sometimes it's weird. Like,
it depends on whether it feels like there's a good vibe or not. I
Yeah.
feel like you're like, either you're like, ooh, I think maybe I'll check this out because you've got good vibes about it, versus you see something, maybe it's recommended to you 1,000 times and you're like, I'm not clicking on that.
Yeah.
The vibes are bad.
Yeah. So we had seen the Gaia performance and we saw that they had a waiting room behind, and I was like, you know what? Let's check this out. I like a good music show waiting room behind type of content piece. And we watched it, but yeah, we didn't know anything yet. We didn't know any of the people.
And like, it was so intriguing to see it pop up to be like a waiting room behind, because we're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
A waiting room behind? Like, they weren't in the waiting room backstage. I don't think. Like, they're virtual. So what is this? And yeah, then we clicked on it, and I just remember when I saw that, I still was thinking, this is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know how much like acting was going on.
Yeah.
But now going back and watching it again after understanding the concept and also understanding their personalities, I can like tell more of like how much of it is like a joke, how much of it is like, this is kind of realistic of like what it would be like.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, like they were talking about Terra people, and they had like, you know, the water that you couldn't really see, and like that whole vibe was still very unfamiliar to us. So we didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, we went back and watched it now that we know PLAVE, and it's like, oh, okay. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But what else? Is that?
We watched that. And we thought it was weird, but that didn't turn us away. It only intrigued us more. And then I think at some point before we were watching the Let's Go episodes, I don't remember what it was we clicked on, but we clicked on something that it was showing PLAVE, and they were like outside, and then it zoomed out.
Yeah.
And it was the Squid Game arena.
Yeah.
And we like lost it because it was just so like obscure. Like, where is this coming from? Like, who are PLAVE? What did they do? Like, it was so unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point that we were kind of like, okay, we have to watch an actual PLAVE content piece.
Yeah. We did see some sort of video where they were there, but we didn't watch the whole thing. But we were like, okay, clearly they have a lot of, like, they can be anywhere. Like, they like they can just exist wherever they want. And so that's another intriguing point. And so I want to go back to you saying that you don't really know how much they're acting and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And also tying in the things that made us curious about how much was really coming from them in like the dance practice. I think now that we know PLAVE, it is a lot more obvious when things are, you know, acting or things said more as their characters or like their personas as PLAVE and more to fit the lore compared to when it's just them being themselves. And I know that Bambi actually said that in a way being virtual helps them get to show more of their actual personality, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I guess it's true. Like, I feel like if they weren't virtual, they might not want to be as chaotic as they are in live streams and stuff like that. But I feel like it's a lot more obvious now when they're saying something that's like, oh, okay, like I get it. Yeah, like, you know, you're saying that to fit like your concept right now.
Right.
But they're not always acting like that. So that definitely helps.
Yeah, I just feel like, and I feel like maybe I've given this sort of disclaimer before. I'm not sure. And maybe if we do a second episode of this, I'm going to have to re-disclaim it then. Because people, like, I just feel like it's so hard to talk about PLAVE without making it seem like they're way better than every single other group. Because I still love all of the other groups that we talk about that, you know, I'm always bringing up over and over again.
Yeah.
They're all fantastic. But PLAVE has so many elements that make everything so cool and so interesting. Like, I've talked about it before, and we'll get to it at some point about how, you know, they are so involved and they do so many things. And also they're like half idols, but also content creators at the same time. But on top of that, there's the element of RP, which like I've seen a few streamers that have gone onto RP servers and like RP a character, and every time that I saw that, it was so intriguing to me, and it's so fascinating and it's so funny, like especially the more that a person is committing to the character. And so the fact that PLAVE also has that element where they get to be like, oh, we're aliens. Yeah. And like, oh, I live underwater. Like, I'm a fish like person, you know, like obviously I would think that that's weird. Like, because I live underwater, duh. It's just like it has this extra element of like funniness and fun, but also it's cool to see. Like, I always find it so interesting to watch someone who you know is role playing a character to like make decisions that it's like, oh, you know, that was so smart, like that you brought that up right now.
Yeah.
Like you remember that you're in your character and your character is that way. Yeah. Like that's so cool. So yeah, they have so many things that like make it so awesome.
Yeah, so many unique points
Yeah.
that only come with PLAVE or maybe like being a virtual idol in general. And actually Noah did talk about in that live stream that they initially planned to act more and take on more specific roles, but they go live so often that it's too hard to fully maintain a concept. So sometimes they like get lazy with it, and it's like, aren't you supposed to be saying that right now? Like, doesn't that kind of not make sense for your character? And they're like, oh yeah, like whatever, like I forgot.
I
But
really like the like level of like mixture that they've done between the like role playing character aspect and, like you were saying, them showing them their real selves. Like I think the balance is really nice. It works really well.
yeah, like every single one of those moments that we've seen when they are doing something to fit their concept, or like that is something that is still so interesting and funny and impressive that they're able to do, like when they can talk to each other and reference what the other person is wearing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, but obviously, like, you know, they're talking about what the character, like what the model is wearing, but like they remember that that's what they're wearing, even though they're not looking at the screen when they're saying it. They can be talking to the actual person.
Yeah.
You know, like that type of stuff is still so interesting that they're able to remember all of that and work with all of that, and they're able to like remember their backstory and stuff and make it relevant.
Yeah. But then I think it's so fun too when you see something happen where someone's like, oh, like look this outfit, and people are like, what do you mean this outfit? Didn't you get dressed today? Like didn't you put on that outfit? And they're like, yeah, I did, but I was just so busy that I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like,
and like
really funny.
The Noah's birthday
Yeah.
go when like the muscles came and it took forever for people to notice.
Yeah.
That was really funny. So yeah, so many interesting things about PLAVE. It's no wonder we started to become interested and get fully invested.
But going back to, I know you brought it up a while ago at this point, but the first Let's Go episode that we watched with the Noah's grandma's house, that was intriguing. Seeing them eating the invisible food in that was also intriguing. And at that point, like I feel like that's the first like thing I watched where I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be watching PLAVE stuff now. And so then I got hit with the Hamin Ray I've Attitude short and wanted to watch more of that. And then I have to mention this one last content piece that was like the one that was really locking everything in for me to be like, these are people that I will like, I have to watch more of their content. Because I remember I was looking up the Attitude short to watch it again because I thought it was so funny, and I wanted to see if they did any other like dance covers, because that's like, you know, Hamin is doing a dance cover. And they ended up popping up this video for me that had a compilation of some of the stuff from a live stream where Bambi and Hamin were doing dance covers, and then they're playing the watermelon game after. The watermelon game is a game that was like really viral and popular. A lot of people were playing it, and I saw people playing it before, so I was like, ooh, they played this game. Well, and I loved the dance cover part. But then I was like, oh my God, they played this game? Like they do gaming live streams? And it was just some clips of it. It wasn't even the whole chunk. But I just loved the dynamics. I loved how invested they were, but also I loved how they would like break out into song, and like I loved how they could just like it was still so fascinating at that point to see like them being able to move anywhere, and like they were like sitting on the floor cross-legged, and then they were like having capture time like with the watermelons in like the CGI like, you know, aspect of, not CGI, green screen sort of aspect of like, let's pose with the picture. It was just really fun, really interesting, and really like surprising that is the point where I was like, oh my God, okay, so it's not just the singing, the dancing, the content pieces, but there's gaming live streams and that kind of stuff too. So yeah.
That's perfect for you. Everybody, anybody who might be listening, go subscribe at Devin Christie. She does gaming videos, and so this is perfect for her.
That's me.
So yeah, that's a great way to continue talking about PLAVE's personalities and more points that make PLAVE unique. So that's, I think, we'll keep talking about that for this part 1. And then in part 2, we are going to get into their songs, their choreography, their music videos, specific content, stuff like that. So stay tuned. But for now, yeah, let's stay on that side of things. And I think something right away that I want to mention that I really, really love about PLAVE that relates to what you just said is the fact that they are allowed to laugh and be chaotic and break out into song and just start dancing. They're basically allowed to, it seems like, do what they want, when they want, and how they want. And
Yes.
for many K-pop groups, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I actually thought it was kind of crazy when I first, because I started watching idol live streams with BTS, then I don't really feel like they usually ever had people around. I mean, if it was a group one, maybe. But like if they were doing something more on their own, there wasn't like, it didn't ever seem like there was someone like off to the side or anything, like a manager or monitor of any kind. But then when I first, was exposed to a group that regularly had that, where there's someone like off to the side that's kind of like, cut it out, like stop.
Yeah.
I was like, are you like, this is crazy. It would have been so funny what that person was like gonna do, and they're getting like I don't know, like held back.
Yeah, it's so
by the management
bothersome
sometimes.
when that happens. And obviously PLAVE does have a bunch of staff around.
True.
Like they have to, but like just the fact that they are allowed to laugh and make jokes is something so refreshing, because it's so bothersome when people are like, oh, like oops, I got too carried away. It's like, no, you didn't. That was making the content enjoyable.
Yeah. Like as long as they're not being like offensive or something, which I've never seen them being that way. I really like kind of in the same vein of that, I really like that they can like move and sit and lay however they want.
Yeah.
Like I think it's always so fun when they're like kneeling on the ground with like their elbows on the stool, like they're kind of just like perched to be like, oh, like let me see. Like it just seems like that's what I would do. Like if I was like, chilling, if I was watching the screen, if I was like watching my friend or like listening to my friend telling a story or doing something funny or playing a game or anything like that, I feel like I would enjoy being in those casual positions as well that they are in.
Or they just lie down.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the times idols have to be like, in like camera, like, like, oh, sit here nicely. Like sometimes they'll get a little more casual depending on the content. But I feel like a lot of the times there's a lot of focus on like, oh, don't be like that's rude to sit that way. But like with PLAVE, I feel like I don't think that they're rude. I think that it's like cozy and like real.
Yeah. Continuing off of that a little bit, specifically talking about their staff is a good point about PLAVE, I think. Like their staff is I just feel like they're so perfect as a K-pop group staff.
Yeah.
Like I hope that they are actually like a good team of people, because like they do things in such a funny way and in such a way that's like, yeah, I couldn't imagine this being done differently type of way. And we haven't seen any live streams yet where they play the games with them, like they don't like come on screen, but like they will have they'll take up one of the player spots and they have played games with the members and stuff like that. And they do appear on screen, but we can't see them because they're not wearing like motion capture stuff. But so even that is also funny, and I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really like when I try and think about the company and like the choices that they make and everything like that, it's really interesting because on the one hand, initially I think like, wow, they are obviously making such great choices and it's all working out. And I feel like a lot of it is because they're really passionate about what they're doing. Like every time you see something, like when they did, for instance, the Olympics episodes, like they added so many extra little things, like with the opening ceremony with the torch and stuff. They added these things that's like, wow, like this is just, I feel like a thing that if you were brainstorming, okay, yeah, so like that we should do an Olympics episode because it's a time for the Olympics. Oh, you know what would be really funny is if we had them do the torch running at the opening ceremony, and then they do it. Like they have, it seems like it's people who are like coming up with a whole bunch of ideas and then they execute them. And I feel like usually it'd be like, oh, that would be really cool if they did that, but like it didn't happen. So there's all of that, those aspects to it. But then at the same time, it's like, if they're so like tech based, like if they're so like this company that like figured out all this motion capture stuff and is on that side of it, then how are they such a good idol group? Like how are the all of the decisions about them, like in terms of the idol sphere, also so perfect?
Yeah, like how do they promote? How does that company promote idols?
Yeah, like all of the other decisions are great too, but they're not even like I'm not thinking of them as an entertainment company first and foremost. Like how do they have such good styling, you know? Like who is styling them? Like do they have they have someone that's good at knowing how to style them and that is also able to make the styles? Like, you know, it's just really fascinating because they're great at being an entertainment company, like more so than entertainment companies are. But then they're also like you know, tech, like game dev elements to their company as well that are really great.
Yeah. And PLAVE themselves are variety geniuses, let's be real. They are extremely entertaining. In all their content that we've seen, it's just so funny. Like it's seriously some of the funniest content that I've seen. Their dynamics are just so good, and the flow of the content is really good as well. And it just, like, it's just so, I don't know, like, I just think it's so entertaining. There's no like better way to describe it than saying it's like it's funny, it's good, it's interesting, it's entertaining. I love that they have so many inside jokes. I think that's always really fun when groups have inside jokes, not just with, you know, the members, but the members and the fans. And they have plenty of those, and they're always referencing that, and they know when like they can make jokes with each other because they are all comfortable enough with each other, it seems, and they know how to keep the jokes going, and they also know when it flops. And they also know when to make a joke out of the fact that the joke flopped. Like, you know, like yes. I feel like all of the aspects of that are really balanced. It makes me think of like Seungkwan from 17 a lot of the times. Like I feel like he's so good at that type of stuff, and like obviously he's, you know, a variety person, like he's great at entertainment shows, but like his personality isn't forced to be that way, and it doesn't seem like PLAVE is forced either. It seems like they're just naturally good at it.
Yeah. I think they have fantastic group dynamics. It's really great. And whether the group dynamics are good or not is going to be dependent on the people themselves. But also, if there is a company that's putting a group together, you know, you don't know who's going to end up in your group with you. So maybe the group dynamics aren't stellar with every single member, and those are just people that are in your group. But like PLAVE, the dynamics are so good, and like you're saying, the comedy and their personalities and the entertainment value is so high. And so then once again, I ask, how are they exceptional idols as well? Like, how are they so great at singing and dancing and all of those other elements, and also their entertainment skills off the charts? Like,
it's almost not fair.
Yeah, it's literally like, I am sorry that I have to talk about PLAVE this way, but there's no other option. They just are that good. And I think, you know, to a degree, it's because the way that the whole group and concept of the group came together, it had to be that way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they had to be that good, and they had to be that passionate and that committed. And so you end up just getting something amazing. Whereas like other groups, sure, trust me, I have so much other content that I could say is hilarious and that I love to watch, and songs that I love to listen to. But it's not that it didn't have to be that way, you know? Like, they have a bigger company that has more money and like didn't have to put everything on the line for this, you know? But PLAVE probably, like, it had to be that good.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, like, otherwise it would fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah, and their origin story, like, I know I said we're talking about our origin story, but like also theirs is just so, like, it's evident that they did know each other, you know? Like, when they talk about, oh, how did you come to be a member? And it was like, you know, they've talked about it in live streams, and it makes sense. It makes sense because you can tell in their content, and it just does make them seem like more real in a way. Like, you forget that you're watching this virtual group.
Yeah. And you kind of get, like, I'm just thinking of this right now. I feel like sometimes with K-pop groups and their group dynamics, you kind of feel like it's a K-pop group first, and like they're making a content piece, but some of them are really good friends. And like, they're friends in general, but some of them are like really close, and you're like, oh, like I like that dynamic that they have. But with PLAVE, I feel like sometimes first you're seeing a group of friends. Like, it's a group of friends who are streaming. It's a group of friends who made this song. And like, that is at the forefront, like it is when you watch like live streamers that are a group of friends. And it's like, you're just watching a group of friends all playing games together. Yeah. This is like, you're watching a group of friends be K-pop idols together.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just to sort of wrap up my thoughts here on PLAVE, maybe I already kind of touched on some of these things, but I want to make it clear that if I'm talking about PLAVE and how unique and or interesting and or fascinating they are, I just want to say, like, their involvement is so cool and great. Their innovation is so cool and great. Their intention is so wonderful because like, I just love that everything that they do, every time that I see a new like content piece that they cooked up, you know, that's like, this is the thing we're going to do on the live stream today or whatever. Or like, this is how the staff, you know, the people like made the set and like made outfits and all. Everything seems to have so much intention. It's not just like, oh yeah, we can do an episode about that. Like, we can, everything is thought out. Like, when they did the first one that we saw, the first Let's Go episode that we saw, that was like a traditional Korean location retreat thing. Sure, everybody's done that. Everybody has one of those, but they're like, it has a backstory. This is Noah's grandma's house. Like, I just love that. It just gives everything so much depth and so much like purpose.
Yeah. Yes. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. I also do think that we're going to get into it in part 2 more, but in this episode, I also want it to be acknowledged that PLAVE is a self-producing group. Like, they do have so much involvement in every aspect, and so that is really, really good. I always love to see that from K-pop groups. So the fact that PLAVE has that and does that makes them even better.
Yes. Like, it's trust me, I really do still like all of the other groups that we talk about.
Yeah.
I do. It doesn't sound, at this point, it sounds like I've just, forgotten everything else that exists besides PLAVE, but that's not the case.
Yeah. And also, no offense, not to turn things upside down, but if anybody ever disrespects us, like, we're dropping them. So we can have this great
true,
episode, but I things can turn around, and we'll turn around as well.
Absolutely true. Yes. We go with what we know,
Yeah. So that is all for part 1 of the PLAVE episode. I don't know if we're going to use our cheeky little title. Like, I do think it's worth explaining now, though. Like, we might only call episode 2 that. We might call episode 1 that. We might call neither that. But for anybody that might not understand the reference of trapping PLAVE in a praise prison or a compliment prison, it is like a phrase in Korean, but also PLAVE references it specifically with Hamin a lot. Basically, we're just complimenting them to no end, right? Like, this episode is just praising PLAVE for everything. So that's the meaning behind that.
Yes. Oh, but wait, there's one other thing that I feel like, why didn't we mention this at all? Because, like, we've been speaking broadly about PLAVE this whole time, but, like, our biases, or, like, I mean, it's hard because they are all so good and so, like, relevant. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, relevant is the word.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't discount any of them ever. But I'm really vibing with Hamin and Eunho. Personally, like, for me, like, a lot of the times I'm like, yes, exactly. Especially with Eunho, like, his vibe on a lot of things, I'm just like, I feel that absolutely.
I am saying right now, and like, since I've known about PLAVE enough to pick a bias, or sorry, to have my bias pick me, it's been Yejun, and my bias wrecker is Hamin, for anybody that might be curious about that. But also, yeah, sorry, we can't wrap it up yet. We can't wrap it up. There's just too much to talk about that's good about PLAVE. And one of the things that makes PLAVE unique is that each member has their own powers or abilities, whatever you might want to call that. And so those, like, abilities that they have make the content really funny sometimes when they use them. They make it more unique. It's like, just, it's another point. It's another point. Like, Eunho can make fire appear from his hand. And
like, how does he not forget that? Like, I just feel like I would forget that I can do that. But he brings it up so often where he's just like, fire. And I'm like, wait, you remember that if you just, like, flex your hand out, you're getting fire?
The birthday thing when they were taking pictures of him and he had to keep the fire lit the whole time was so funny. But yeah, like, Bambi has the flowers and, like, that we didn't actually see that, but they referenced it in something else that we were watching when they were playing the Mafia game, but his ability has the noise that goes with it, and so it was, like, spoiling it. That's so funny. Like, you couldn't get that from a non-virtual group with special powers, like,
Yeah.
And I love that Noah's thing is the sparkles when he laughs, because his laugh is so distinct and he's just always laughing. And so I think that's really funny. Yeah. So, okay, now we're wrapping it up. Part 1 is over. If you enjoyed this episode, part 1, please like the video on YouTube or wherever you may be listening, and subscribe to the BlushCat channel. Turn on notifications. You don't want to miss part 2. We're going to be getting into choreography, songs, their positions a little bit more, things like that, like content. It's all coming in part 2, so just stick around, and remember to follow Devin at Devin Christie, because, if you like PLAVE, you'd probably like her channel, her content. And
that is
I don't feel like I don't and so yeah, BlushCat, we've got playlists on Spotify. Save those to your library. We have a lot of really good iconic mixes. And is that all? Oh, leave a comment. Yeah, leave us a comment. Why don't you leave a PLAVE praise in the comments?
That's a great idea.
And stay meowing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening.
This has been Mimi
and me. Bye.
Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow.